So here we are again, and like my whole plan. What the fuck? That's different. So my whole plan was to, have a picture of Puff Daddy's face on when we open to the screen. Oh, there he is. Oh, what the fuck? Welcome to another edition of William versus the World. Thank you for clapping.
Woo!
Whoa. When you do that, all I can hear is the microphone banging around. So I don't know what's up with the clap screen. But welcome to another episode of William versus the World. Every Wednesday, we podcast here on the band page. We go live learning about industry stories, independent music news, social media, tools, predictions, tips, technology, all about the $17 billion music industry. That's a lot of money, huh?
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. The best way to contribute to the live stream and to the band here is free. Just share the stream, share the music, talk about sepsis, whatever have you, share our images and our posts. But that is the best way that you can contribute to us. Of course, you can send us stars and do all of that other stuff. It's just subscribing to the pages and anything else I forgot.
Checking out the website.
Checking stuff out. We are a hard rock heavy metal band from New England, Manchester, New Hampshire, and we go live each Wednesday to talk about the music industry. Are you happy to be here today, Lex?
Hell
I
yeah.
don't know what the hell is up with it.
Yeah.
There it is.
Woo!
All right, so you guys know how it is. We're gonna kick things off, and it's Diddy's Day.
I'm sorry.
We have to talk about because I'm a man of my word, and
I just like the way you said this is Diddy's day.
never more than ever, regardless of how you feel about things, never more than ever is it important to share accuracy and combat, question, and confront misleading information online. Never more has it been more important. Facts matter, and the words we use and choose to use matter more than ever, especially in today's ever-present stream of misinformation. So I thought it was important because we cover musicians sometimes, like celebrities and rumor mills. I think it'd be important to, as we have in the Marilyn Manson case, the Jay-Z case, and the case of P. Diddy being accused of sexual allegations and abuse, I think it was important to tell everybody that he has been acquitted of some of the charges.
Yeah, definitely
Now,
important.
whether you like him or not, the reason why I'm covering this today is to prove two things. That our judicial system is a very long arm of the law, but it's one of the guardrails and checks and balances that we have when it comes to determining the facts in a public forum before experts and professionals. So it can be organized to the best of our human ability, and then a jury in a courtroom of our public peers can make the best judgments based on the evidence that has been presented. That is why it's important to cover this. And it's also important to cover this to understand that just because somebody isn't convicted of a handful of crimes and they may be innocent for some, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are not abusive or scary or otherwise. So we're not judges or juries. We're just, people reading articles. Let's face it. But that's why it's so important for us to not, A, rush to judgment and pretend that we're experts and determine someone's guilt. And then on the other hand, also be able to measure and allow these processes to take place so we can discover emerging truths as they go. So, what do we know? Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges today and found guilty on 2 lesser charges of sex trafficking charges and found guilty on 2 lesser charges of transportation of former girlfriends for prostitution. There you have it. So what does that mean? It means that he was accused of heinous sex crimes and got acquitted on those, and he was found guilty on lesser charges, claiming that he used his girlfriends for the act of prostitution, which is a lot different than holding somebody down and sexually abusing them. They're just 2 different actions.
Completely different things, yeah.
So the reason why I'm covering this is because I don't like Puff Daddy. I think he's a piece of shit. However, it's also important that even though I think he's a piece of shit, even though I don't like his music, okay, that it doesn't mean that a court has found him guilty for the things that was alleged. Okay? And just because somebody alleges something, whether it makes it to a court or doesn't mean that act didn't happen. There are certain technicalities, statutes of limitations, and there are other legal avenues that don't necessarily determine or prove innocence or guilt. But in this case, it was a very lengthy trial where evidence was entered before the jury publicly. Court cases are public. You can go look over the details. And the jury didn't find enough evidence to convict him of the scary charges, the racketeering and the sex trafficking. But he was found guilty on 2 lesser charges. It's important for me to say that because while I don't like Puff Daddy or his music, it's important for me to tell the truth about the conclusion of the case, regardless of how I feel or whatever I think or imagine about him. Now, does that mean that he's a nice guy and that I would hire him at Dunkin' Donuts if I was the manager? Probably not. Right? Is there something you want to add?
I never hire him at Dunkin' Donuts.
Hey, Jules, what's up? Jules Show in the house. Everybody shout out to the Jules Show. Make sure you go follow.
To me, not guilty means they didn't have enough evidence to determine.
In legal terms, that's exactly what it means. What you
that doesn't mean he didn't do something else.
It doesn't mean
the act didn't happen.
It also doesn't mean that he is somebody that hasn't abused somebody. I mean, let's keep it 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have video evidence of Puff Daddy violently abusing women. People know that. However, even if you don't like that, you can't say that he's an arsonist.
No.
Do you see where we're going?
Yeah.
I think that's something that's missed in society. That's something that's missed online. That when you see somebody that's alleged for a heinous crime and it doesn't make it to a courtroom, it doesn't necessarily mean that the act that they were accused of, it doesn't mean that the allegations that they were accused of never happened.
Yeah.
It just means there's not enough evidence that a prosecutor would go forward with it, or the evidence that has been presented in front of a jury, they can't agree without a reasonable doubt
That they're guilty.
Yes. Remember
Exactly.
that even if one juror is hung up on it, you can't say that he's guilty.
No.
These
That's a
are
hung jury.
these are the checks and balances within our judicial system that the average goofball on Facebook doesn't understand when I'm giving an opinion about law.
Yeah. Definitely.
The verdict is seen as a victory for Puffy. That's how I know him, who was cleared of the most serious charges. So I'm coming on here as a man saying, hey, I think he did it. However, if you ask my personal opinion, do I believe in my imagination that P. Diddy is a sexual abuser? In my imagination, because I can't go over the evidence, I can't run an investigation, I'm not an expert.
Yeah, you're not a detective or anything
Right.
like that. You're not
Based on my own personal life. You see what the problem is there? Based on my own experiences, I might classify someone something, but that's not fair in terms of legal speech.
or experts or something like
That's
that.
it. I can feel however I want to, but the results of the case are whatever they are, and that's why I'm showing everybody today that even though I don't like one sex offender, I'm not willing to give a break to another alleged sex offender. That when it comes to sex offenders, we don't pick and choose our favorite sex offenders. However, there's a difference between somebody being alleged of a sex offense and there never being a conclusion because it doesn't make it to a court or public forum, versus what we have here, which is Puff Daddy has been cleared of the most heinous of the sex offenses, which are sex trafficking and racketeering. So he's not a
He had his day
crime
in
boss.
court.
He's not a gangster. In court,
He had his day in court.
he had his day in court, and now it's our turn. So if Marilyn Manson would have had his day in court, he never had a day in court because he paid off his accusers to not go to court. So if an argument or a complaint never makes it to a public forum, none of us ever get to go over the evidence. It's never presented in front of a jury where all of the jury have to make a decision based on within a reasonable doubt. Whether I like it or not, I have to report and say here that the conclusions from the evidence and a jury, that whether William likes it or not, because he went through court, because he went, it's not a matter of,
He went through his day in court, the legal proceedings.
now do I hate his fucking guts? Yes. Do I think P. Diddy is a disgusting fucking person? Me personally, yes, because I'm mean. Sue me. But one thing I can't say is that he's a racketeering sex trafficker. I can't say that.
No.
Because a jury of my peers has determined that he is not a sex trafficking Skinner. However, a jury has found Donald Trump convicted and found him liable as an adjudicated sex offender. And we also know that if you have allegations as a rock star sex offender and you don't make it to court, the bad news about that is people like Marilyn Manson, unlike Diddy, will never have a chance to actually clear his name because he doesn't want to go through a process in court where that is fact-finding, where the evidence can be presented in front of a jury to acquire and determine objective truths based on scientific evidence and experts.
He didn't want to go through it.
He didn't want to go through it.
P. Diddy did. And the other guy.
Right.
Mr. Donald
But
Trump.
the one, and I'm not defending this disgusting person.
No.
What I am saying, I'm defending the judicial system.
Yes.
In saying that when we want to determine our sex offenders, it's better off that we put them through court like we did Sean Puffy Combs. That way we can determine whether he indeed is an adjudicated, convicted offender or abuser. Like Donald Trump, we put him through a process of the court, and a jury found him liable of being a sexual abuser. When he tried to appeal it, it didn't matter. A courtroom still, because of the evidence that was presented in front of a jury, all parties have concluded that he is indeed, based on the evidence and details, observably, publicly, anybody can look, because it went through a court, we now know that Trump is an adjudicated sex offender. We now know, because of court, that unfortunately Puff Daddy is not guilty for racketeering and sex trafficking. Did he maybe in our imaginations? Maybe. Is he an abuser? For sure. Should we hire him to make rap music and to dance in front of our children? No. Then why the fuck would we hire Marilyn Manson to do it when he hasn't taken the process of public forum where the evidence and the conversation is presented in front of peers and people that can examine the evidence in front of all?
He doesn't want to have his day in court?
He doesn't want to have it, right. And why do people want to avoid court?
Because they don't want to find out the truth.
Because here's the next part. The judge denied bail. The judge denied bail for Puffy. They asked for bail. The judge denied him bail. So Puffy will remain detained until his sentencing. Just think of this for a few minutes, everybody. This entire time he's been in jail for racketeering and sex trafficking. Whether I like it or not, he's been found not guilty for it. But yet, he's been in jail the entire time for these things. I just want to keep that in mind. So when certain people, even if they're celebrities, if you look a certain way, if you are a certain way, if you're accused of a sex offense, you go right to jail until you can prove your innocence. Where other celebrities and politicians can be alleged of sex crimes and they stay out where they can fight the case and prove their innocence. I just want y'all to make that note. Prosecutors said they will seek a 4 to 7 year prison sentence for Diddy regardless, and that's for the prostitution
And the other one.
and the other one. Combs has denied all allegations. So there you have it. That's where we're at with it. What do you think, Lex? What do you think? Just what do you think?
I think that just because this case,
Yes.
this particular case,
Yes.
is determined this,
Yes.
doesn't mean that later on down the road, something else could come up.
That's very important. That's very important.
Just because this here, with this case, you're free.
Well, and depending on how you feel.
I mean, I respect the law, so I respect their decision,
Right.
regardless. But I'm just saying, like, playing chess, thinking ahead, this doesn't mean a different case might not come up.
That's right. I want to read a couple things. Jules says, crazy how if you're famous, you can pay out the courts to avoid the truth coming out. That's it, man. Really, Jules, that's it. Like that's kind of that's what we're touching on. And what we're also touching on is here, we report about this stuff a lot. And I talk a lot of shit on the program. So it's important for me to hold myself accountable, right? And be able to come back and regardless if I like Diddy or not, it's important for me to hold myself accountable because I come on here and I make jokes about celebrities and sex offenders and everything else. So if I'm going to make jokes about these people, I also got to be ready to present the truth when they're acquitted. I think that's the big thing that people don't see a lot of times is like we have podcasters and the Joe Rogans and the comedians and guys like me, and we all come on here, you know, and we're also opinionated, right? And it's fun to make fun of people and make jokes and the whole bit, but you don't really see people coming back on here holding themselves accountable, you know, when the truth comes out. You know, you haven't even seen the story of him being acquitted or found not guilty or whatever. You haven't found a lot of stories about P. Diddy being cleared of all charges. But when he was alleged to be a trafficking gangster, that's all we heard. Right? And now now that the drama's gone, you're not hearing people say, no one's going to say I'm sorry, for accusing you for doing something that you didn't do. But when we're all on the internet, and if it's Diddy, or if it's an ugly guy and he's being accused of sex offenses and he clears his name through a court, you never hear about it. But if it's a guy like Marilyn Manson, who never steps a foot in jail, he's got a handful of women and minors that have alleged abuse. He's even paid off some of his accusers. He's even covering some of his accusers' attorney fees. And he's protected by the statute of limitations. A guy like him who's never been through a fact-finding public forum. A guy, he's never done a day of time, and he was allowed to fight his cases from his home. And we don't hear any stories about them, whether or not that they've cleared their name. That sort of stuff isn't publicized. I think it's important for when we accuse people of being criminals, I think it's important for all of us, regardless if we like their personality or not, to come on and say, hey, you know what? I made some jokes about it. I thought it was really funny, but it's important to understand that this guy has not been found guilty for all of the things that people thought that he did. Because if you don't do that, then people always remember the headlines, and people tend to remember the terrible things that they can remember about you.
And also in today's world, with all the things happening in court and like political stuff, it's
Right.
so important for like us civilians to like respect the law.
Right.
Like respect their ruling.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not, we need to respect
And
the
we
law
don't.
and what their rules are.
And we're quick to, when the law's working on our side, right? We want to be on the sidelines and cheering
Yes,
everybody.
And we talk about it, yeah.
Right. And when due process doesn't work for us, we always want to call it corrupted and
All silent. No one wants to say anything.
Right. Yeah.
Respect the rulings of the judicial system. And it's so important today. As well as facts and words. That's all in case law. That's all in the law as well. So we need to respect those things if we're going to say those things.
I think it's hard to respect those things a lot of time because we live in an era of digital information where news and information is breaking and is beamed at us. So anything that doesn't have a pathway to completion that's right in front of you or that's instant, people tend to dismiss. So because the law is the long arm of the law, and it takes time to go through the facts. It takes time to review video. It takes time and money to hire experts to go over the details of a case and to get the truth. It's expensive to acquire and research and store the truth. It's cheap and destructive to spread misinformation. So when you have, and criminals and psychopaths and sickos are depending on misinformation and confusion and delays. So because they know people are going to forget. People have short-term memory. Eyewitnesses change. People feel better today, so they don't want to go into court. Right?
Right.
And that's why people don't trust the justice system, because it takes a long time to establish the law. It takes a long time to establish evidence, to go over the facts. It takes a long time to get everybody in a room together and go over each note.
People lack the patience.
They lack the patience. They lack the intellectual honesty. The performative, either political or identity role playing hosts a major factor, in determining, how a person is going to distinguish the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They might need to hear the science from somebody who looks like them. They might need to sit in a room full of their peers or get off the news, get off of the television, or, they might need to be in a room with a jury of their peers to start looking at common sense, decency, and be able to go over the facts of the case.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that home with your beliefs and your gods and your fucking
You
bullshit.
gotta do it out in public.
You feel me?
You gotta do it outside.
Scott says, I don't see this as a victory. I see it as a crime to each and every human being, like myself, who's been sexually assaulted when I was 7. I'm sorry, bro. Not
Right.
not one thinks how they affects human beings who have trauma and PTSD. No, that's real. I gotta respect that.
That's very true.
No, it's true. You know what I mean? We are. You know, it's kind of sad, but the rich abusers walk.
Yep.
That's kind of what I meant. You know what I mean? And we. And depending on which type of abuser you are, if you look a certain way, if you have a certain money, you can abuse anybody. That's kind of my point.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you've been brought into court and they've established that you are liable as an adjudicated sex offender, people will still vote for you, like Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. We need to understand that.
Right, where the facts of his sexual abuse have been presented in front of the country. You know, and he is indeed. Look on Grok, look on Twitter. Find your favorite website. You can look up the court documents, the court docs. You can look up the case law, the RSAs. You can look up on Wikipedia, and it will confirm that Donald Trump is a sex offender and adjudicated abuser.
Plus all the appeals.
However, plus these things, but as it is of now, as it is of today, in plain English, if you look on Grok or Meta AI, or you look up on Wikipedia or Google or anywhere on the internet, we know for sure that Donald Trump has been found liable by a jury in court to be a sexual abuser. But people that love, support, and voted for him can read that on Wikipedia. And if
100%.
they can read it on Grok, they
Mm-hmm.
but if you are so far down the rabbit hole, you might read the truth in plain English from any source and still perceive the world from misinformation. And that's why it's important for me to come on here and say, whew, whether I like it or not, Donald Trump is an adjudicated sex offender. Whether I like it or not, Marilyn Manson has been accused of being a sex offender, but he's never had his day in court, so we'll never know in a public forum whether or not he is proven to be a sex offender by a court. But what we do know is that he has settled off with his accusers in the past. He has settled cases, and last time I checked, innocent men don't settle with their accusers. Not to mention, he's paying his accuser Rachel's attorney fees for his defamation lawsuit that he dropped. So he dropped a lawsuit against Rachel claiming that she was lying about him assaulting her. And he's dropped that most recently. So that's what we know. Now, if you're a big Marilyn Manson fan, maybe that hurts your feelings. But here's the thing. I can't stand Puff Daddy. But I can't pick and choose. The truth is, he's been found not guilty today of racketeering and some of the more heinous sexual abuse allegations. He has only been found guilty for pimping. And I mean, you can go down the moral highway on that, but that's a lot different than
The original.
violence.
Mm-hmm.
It's the original allegations that landed him in court are not true.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never find out about Marilyn Manson, will we?
Until he has his day in court, we won't know.
Donald Trump had his day in court, and we know.
Mm-hmm. Same with Diddy.
You know, a lot of people like Tupac. Tupac went to court. He said his whole life that he was innocent. But if you look on Wikipedia, if you look in the court dockets, he was charged and convicted with sexual abuse. Sue
Look
me.
it up.
Look it up. It's not so
Public
when I,
information.
right,
He
when I,
had his day in court, so we can do that. Marilyn
Right.
Manson didn't.
He didn't.
That's the comparison.
and that's his trick.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the other trick.
All right, guys, here's another one. The Y chromosome is disappearing. a fact that is already causing problems for all men. Let me bring it up for you guys.
This is interesting science.
Do you want to listen? Do you want to listen about it?
Yeah.
We got to change it. We got to do the thing. Scott's like, I know you guys are going to talk about sex offenders.
It's like Scott saw that this morning. He's like, oh, I know William versus the world going to be about.
That's what he said. He said that. He was like, I knew you guys were going to cover this shit. Jules said they're always hiding something.
Right.
Jason says, awesome reporting on the music industry. Hey, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. I got to be accountable. Because I've made a lot of jokes about these guys, for fun. Because I think it's fun to make fun of sex offenders. But when they're found not guilty, I have to keep it real.
Yeah.
I can't say that Donald Trump has been found not guilty of a sex offense. He has been found liable in public by a jury to be an adjudicated sex offender. You know what I mean?
It's the truth.
It doesn't matter if I like it or dislike it. It just happens to be the truth on Wikipedia. It happens to be the truth in court. It has to be. It just happens to be the truth if you ask Grok. That's all. I'm not into the other shit. I'm just saying
the truth.
Right. If you ask your imagination, you might get different results.
It's your imagination.
Okay, so let's get into this. Flip open a high school biology textbook, and the rules seem tidy. 2 X chromosomes mean a girl, and X paired with Y means a boy. That much smaller Y chromosome carries the SRY gene, everyone, which is the switch for the testes development. Okay? Keep an eye on this, everybody. I want you guys to pay attention. This is science. For the last 300 million years or so, the system has been working very well. For now, however, chatter in genetic circles hints that something is amiss. Pay attention, everybody. Especially you big tough guys out there. Over time, the Y chromosome has been losing pieces of itself. That's right. And computer models suggest the last scraps could vanish in roughly 11 million years. Okay? The Y chromosome loss, no trivial matter, because what it holds or drops can sway everything from cancer risk to how humans reproduce in the future. Okay? Would that erase men from the planet, or would it simply shrug off an invent of a new plan? Rodents and remote islands and subtle changes inside aging human bone marrow are now producing the clues. One story shows how a mammal kept producing males after its Y chromosome disappeared entirely. The other warns of how men already pay the price when some of their cells drift away from the chromosome during middle age. Y chromosomes fade away. The X chromosome carries about 900 genes that do everything from wiring nerves to repairing DNA. The Y keeps about only 55. Comparative work across mammals shows that once our lineage is split from the platypus some 166 million years ago, the Y began dropping out about 5 genes every million years. Run that line forward, and the ledger hits 0 in 11 million years. Most biologists once chalked that outcome up to hype. After all, many species never shed their sex chromosomes. But the idea gained traction when researchers found in a spiny rat that a few mole vole species thriving today that without any Y chromosomes at all. Somehow they had rewired the traditional circuit for making testes.
Oh.
Yeah. Long before any species-wide overhaul, countless men are already losing the Y chromosome cell by cell. Starting in their 50s, bone marrow stem cells sometimes missegregate during division. The resulting white blood cell lineages mixing the Y multiply quietly. By 80 years old, more than 40% of men carry sizable pockets of this mosaic loss of Y. Let me explain it to you. As men get older, we become more female.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking like they don't carry the Y as they get older.
No. What it's saying?
Not they as they get older.
Nah. Two things you got to take away from that. Men are becoming bitches. They're losing more of the Y chromosome the longer we are humans here on the planet. Men are losing manhood.
Oh,
The men
Makes
of
sense.
today
that makes sense.
had less men chromosomes than they did later on.
Mm-hmm.
And examples of this are current and in real time as normal. When men hit their 50s and beyond, we start having more female chromosomes. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with
makes
that.
sense. No, that's
And
just
if you're
science.
and if you're a man that doesn't like that, then you just feel like a bitch.
Better accept that.
Right,
That's an objective truth.
That's what I'm saying. If you feel emotional about anything I'm saying, then there's your proof.
Therein lies the crystalline structure.
I feel like you might like this one.
Okay.
Oh, I got to redo the chat here. You guys have been talking the whole time. Oh, my God.
Oh.
Yo, Steve said, I'm 52. I call bullshit.
Well, besides you, Steve.
Steve, we're not talking about you.
No. You're excluded.
All the other guys that are middle-aged except for Steve.
Yep.
Let's get that clear. Yeah, I like that. Thanks for the commentary, Jules. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Thank you, Jules.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking out the music, too. We got new music coming out. As soon as someday we'll get some money.
Subscribe to the YouTube.
Yeah, if you guys want to know why we don't come out with a lot of new music, it's because we don't have the money to invest in it. Like, nobody wants to come out with music and not invest in it.
They can donate to the current song.
There's already enough artists out there that come out with great music and then they never invest in it, and then all of the artists' fans go, how come you guys never go anywhere with the music? You guys should be so big now. And then the artists remind everybody that we don't have any fucking money. And he goes, well, you guys don't release enough music. Well, artists, especially independent artists, they can't continue to keep making singles, especially if they're good. Imagine all your music was good. I don't believe that about my music or anything like that, right? Some of it's good, some of it is, some this, some that, right? Whatever, there's different strokes for different folks. I don't imagine all of my songs as being hits. So what I'm saying is, but let's imagine that they are. Imagine coming out, every single that you had was a hit, and you ain't got $1 to invest in it. Then the fans are going to say, how come you're not bigger or not successful? We don't want to get behind you anymore because you're not successful. Because, people wind up abandoning ship if you're not as successful as they imagine you to be. What a mess.
There's too much pressure.
Not for us. Because we
No.
don't give a fuck.
Right.
If you don't like the music, then you don't. I think the
That's on you.
right,
But they
generally-
want you to feel the.
Yeah, generally speaking, a lot of fans give their artists a hard time. If you're not acting the way that they want you to, then they're out. If you're not making
Then they're
music,
not a real fan.
these things are changing. Okay, here we go. AI band tops 474,000 Spotify monthly listeners. What are your thoughts on that?
I wrote down, it seems to me like there are some people out there that don't know the difference between real music and fake music.
And there is an even growing more population of people that don't give a shit and they'll never look.
Yep. And those are probably the people that are following
If
that
most
AI.
if most people found out that their favorite band and singer was a heinous Skinner sex offender arsonist. People wouldn't look up the results of the court case because it would challenge the fans' moral standards continuing to support that artist.
Real shit. They don't want to. They don't want to look it up. They
Nope.
don't want to research. They don't want to.
Because they don't want to know the truth.
They want to just be fed the recommended and go no further.
It's a little bit big. I think it's deeper than that. They also not they want to be served. They also want to be lied to.
Because they're not going to want to know. They're not going to look at the difference between that lie and the truth.
Right. If their favorite artists are fake, then they have to challenge themselves with some questions. They are challenged with their own questions, like, are they fake for supporting fake artists? Why support a fake AI artist if you could just support a real artist? What's preventing you from doing that? So that the questions get aimed back at the fan, and I think that's the difficult part.
Is that the fans don't really want to look into shit?
Because they don't care.
Nope.
And that's what I know.
They just accept the surface.
They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit one way or another.
So, of course, this is going to continue to grow and be a thing.
People pretend, okay, it's trendy for people to say, down with AI music, rage on with human-made art. It's popular to say that in a Facebook post. It's popular to say that to your musician friends. But when it comes time for people to be lazy, complacent, or shit, if they find something that they like and they think it's their idea, they don't care if it's fake, if it's evil, if it hurts somebody else, as long as they like it, and especially if they're stuck on the hallucination that it was their idea to do it, you'll never fucking move them.
Nope. Ever.
People are weak and broken. They could give a shit less if Melissa's singing it or it's
a fucking robot.
Right. Wouldn't matter.
Nope.
Wouldn't matter. If they had to get up out of their chair and look, that would be more inconvenient.
Mm-hmm. They'd rather just like it in the first 2 seconds.
Just like racism.
Yep. Blink.
Word of that presumably AI-powered band, the Velvet Sundown, appears to have started circulating earlier this week on Reddit. There, multiple users have said some of the relevant tracks have arrived in their Discover Weekly playlists. Of course, Spotify would promote fake artists before real artists that have been loyal to them for years. Evidently, it didn't take long for many of the same individuals to notice the likely AI-generated image of Velvet Sundown's members. Said the image has a distinct AI look to it. Among other things, doesn't jump out as the sort of shot proper human act would use. More concretely, image analysis platform pointed out to 99% chance that generated AI had pumped out the creation. Regarding the plural albums, of Velvet Sundown, has shelled out 13 track works, floating on echoes in dust and silence during the June alone, and a third entitled Paper Sun Rebellion already has Spotify release countdown timer set for July 4th. So they got music coming out there. To state the obvious, rapid fire releases schedule screams AI audio. Unsurprisingly, there doesn't appear to be any digital footprint whatsoever of these people. This is just where we're at.
It's like the mask thing.
I don't even
Can't see
care.
their
I'm just
face.
reporting on it. But it's like, there you go. There you have it.
This is where the music industry is at right now.
That's lame, huh?
Yeah. I kind of agree with Gene Simmons that there's really not a lot of icons anymore. They're all like dying out. Like the next icon isn't really a thing anymore.
They don't do that.
Nope.
They don't
No
have.
one's standing out. No one's doing anything different like that.
They don't have the accounting. They're not gonna invest the years of labels having a bank account to push artists like
It's
that.
not.
That's not
No.
the. And I'm not saying that's today. Anybody who says that's today is off. That's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
30 maybe more. Really.
Yeah. But we won't know.
We don't
look it up.
know. I cassettes and CDs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Steve said, "Listen, if you don't have money, the real music is being made. But if you have plenty of money, then you're just using AI to do your work." Yeah, some people probably do that.
Yeah.
Scott says, "Sad part is that it takes money to put out music." He's right about that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm glad somebody understands it. It's just the truth. It doesn't matter if I like it.
It's the same thing as before. We have to accept that
A lot-
this is reality.
The internet echo chamber is filled with podcasts that only report or talk about things they like or make them happy or get them views. We don't do that.
No. We even talk about the stuff we don't like.
We even talk about the stuff we don't like. And when we have to have accountability or we have to come back online because an opinion didn't age well or we were flat out wrong, you will never see me hesitate to come on, take accountability, and I'll apologize and make amendments when appropriate.
You don't see that.
No.
So follow William versus the world. Because you're going to get that here at the podcast.
If there's a few things, if there's a few key takeaways that we're always going to be trying to designate and prioritize, and that is like humanity, decency, a pathway to wisdom, to understanding, and of course the truth. And that's why we keep it real with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Win, lose, or draw. Sometimes we may say things that don't age well or that people don't like, but in many cases we also have no problem with coming on and apologizing or telling people to their face when we've done something wrong or we stepped out of pocket or we need to make an amendment or clean up our English for the sake of our own credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, you're right about that. If you ain't got no bread, you're dumb. You gotta have your bread up. No, if they don't, you know what I mean? If
Real
you're not going to put
shit.
any fucking, if you're not going to invest in your music, then nobody else is. Look the clap. If people see that you're not willing to invest in your own music,
No.
and you're just going to, it doesn't matter how great your music is, if you're not going to get behind it, then it's going to be very difficult for other people to be, I don't know, like, fiscally excited.
Yeah.
I'm getting all crazy with it. When I start using words like fiscally,
It's getting
know.
hot in here.
are you hot? I'm hot. I'm about to turn this shit off. Yo, it's so hot in here. I'm doing 2 more stories. We got to go because it's so
Okay.
hot. Facebook is determined to use Meta AI even on your private photos in your camera roll.
This is 1984.
Everybody knew this was coming.
1984.
Facebook is pretty sure that you want AI edited versions of yourself and every photo in your phone's camera roll, whether or not they're uploaded to Facebook. That's what you want, right? Like, that's what we all want. Don't we want it? Don't you want social media in every fucking layer, nook and cranny of your life?
No, that's why I got rid of the phone.
Don't you want it?
No.
And Steve's like, welcome to 1984.
Yo, for real, man. Yo, I'm not the only one no more. Yes.
The Verge reported that when users open up the Facebook app on their phones and navigate to adding a photo or video from their camera roll to Facebook stories, a screen pops up and asks if they'd like to opt into cloud processing to get creative ideas made for you from your camera roll. It's a trick.
No.
The best of your camera roll curated for you. Get all the ideas like collages, recaps, naked pictures of your ex-girlfriend. The last dinners that you can't remember. I mean, what the...
You get naked pictures of your
Yo,
ex-girlfriend.
how come people save pictures of their dinner that they ate years ago?
Yo, what is that?
That's the one thing that always fucks me up.
They're
Like
gonna
people
take
are
a
like, hold
picture
on,
of
let me
this-
show you this picture, and I'll see them flipping. You
And
know,
it's like
and I'm like,
10,000
what the
scrolls
fuck
of
was
their
that?
food.
Excuse me, was that a plate of spaghetti?
Have you never seen spaghetti before?
Why did you save a plate of spaghetti in your camera roll from July?
Turn that into the AI.
That's fucking crazy people shit. All right. If you tap allow, you're agreeing to Meta's AI terms, which is pretty much prison.
I'm gonna tap deny.
Right. Right.
Fuck your president, no.
Right. Click here if you want institutionalism in digital plantations.
Remind me later.
Right. Right. What the fuck? We're exploring ways to make your content sharing easier. The last thing we need is another fucking person telling us that they're going to make life easier.
Especially from social media.
So hold on. You're going to look and spy through my fucking naked pictures and make my life easier?
That's creepy.
You want...
That's creepy.
You want... So let me get this right. You want full access to my private camera roll and somehow my life is going to get easier.
No. No.
What the fuck?
No.
I don't think so.
Uh-uh.
All right, one more story. People are being involuntarily committed, jailed, after spiraling into ChatGPT psychosis.
What?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
As we reported earlier this month, many ChatGPT users are developing all-consuming obsessions with the chatbot, spiraling into severe mental health crises characterized by paranoia, delusion, and breaks with reality. Yes.
This is what happens when it's in your life.
This is crazy, man. The consequences can be dire. As we've heard from spouses, friends, children, and parents looking on in alarm, instances of what is being called ChatGPT psychosis have led to the breakup of marriages, families, the loss of jobs, and slides into homelessness. Imagine that.
What?
Like,
What are they looking up in ChatGPT?
No, but I could just imagine when you hit the prison compound and dudes are like, "What are you in here for?" You know what I mean? And they're like, "AI chatbots."
They're gonna look at you like
Yeah.
they're in the wrong place. You need to go to the insane asylum up the
Right.
street.
I was gonna say, right, third floor.
Is the insane
right,
asylum.
Stairs over there.
You might want to call the CO.
That shit is crazy. Bananas, right?
Like, what did you put in the ChatGPT for you to like go to this extent? Like, what'd you look up that triggered you?
And that's not all. We have continued reporting. We have numerous troubling stories about people's loved ones being involuntarily committed to psychiatric care facilities or even ending up in jail after becoming fixated on the bot. I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
This is crazy.
That's crazy stuff.
People
man.
can't be that bored.
Wow. We'll end on a positive note. YouTube is providing more tools to help grow your channel and audiences. This is sometimes we do this, and you know a lot of people probably don't care about this, but we do like to offer some education on how people can grow. And Melissa's listening, so maybe she'll like this. YouTube is looking to provide channel managers with a lot more tools to help grow their in-app communities, including updated audience engagement insights and improved markers for interaction opportunities in stream. First off, YouTube is giving channel managers more insight into engagement, new and returning viewers. As you can see in this example, I'll pull it up for you guys. YouTube will now give you more specific data on viewer behavior, like what they've been fapping to. I'm just kidding. Everybody sounds so generic. Quote, we're introducing deeper audiences to insights to help creators understand. Listen, if you're like a person that does podcasting or music or anything like that, you're so tired of hearing, we're introducing a deeper audience insight.
That sounds like something off of ChatGPT.
Yo.
That's so generic.
Right, it sounds like 2019. Fuck you.
Can we find like some better English?
Yeah. Additional categories will help provide people more insight into viewer engagement trends.
They said this. No.
They said this in 2019. Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, let's go.
It's too hot to continue, you guys.
Bye, guys. It's hot.
I appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Stay tuned. We do have a show coming up at Bad Burger.
July 12th.
Yeah, I'm going early because I'm going to eat there twice. I figure I'm going to go there. I'm going to get a chopped cheese.
Hey.
That's how I'm going to start it off.
Woo!
And then I'm going to build everything. I'm going to build the stage with Zachy B. The Intimidator. No, what is he called? The
Muscles.
No, what is the Intensifier?
Ah, the Intensifier.
Zachy B, the Intensifier.
Oh.
So yeah, I'll be over there with Zachy B, the Intensifier. I'm going to have my chopped cheese. You might want to come with me.
Hell yeah.
And
I have
then
a chopped cheese.
Yeah, and then after that, I need something. I'm starting to want something now with bacon.
Like a bacon burger with a milkshake.
Oh man, that's what I want right now.
I would love a burger and a milkshake.
Right now?
Right now, and at Bob's Burgers. I mean, Bad Burger.
Oh, Scott. See? Scott says, congratulations, Lexi, on your new music venture.
Ah, thank you so much.
Nobody knows what you're doing. It's such a mystery. But
Yeah.
I think many of us can figure it out. But I've seen a lot of people guessing, like, what are you going to do? Is she going to play the accordion? Is she going to sing? Is she going to play, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to have 3 guitar players like those old bands in 2011?
You technically do have 3 guitar players.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There are so many things, you know.
A hula hooper.
Right. You could be a fire breather,
Yeah.
a DJ. Nobody knows what you're going to do.
No, they have no clue.
Saxophone.
Wouldn't that be interesting with more than before in a saxophone? Bang!
Join us next week, everybody, for another episode of William vs. the World.